breaking news on Mr. Karmelo Anthony. Seems like that video footage is circulating now and being released, and it wasn't quite the self-defense that everybody claimed it was.
You're sitting in the courtroom, the air's stiff, every breath weighed down by anticipation, and then it happens. Karmelo Anthony's parents step forward, their faces pale but resolute. The courtroom clerk calls their names. They rise slowly, as if the very floor beneath them might give way. The judge asks a simple question, one they've rehearsed in silence for days. How do you plead? And what follows sends the entire room into chaos. You hear gasps ripple through the audience. A few people stand, stunned, as Carmelo's mother speaks. Her voice trembles but doesn't waver. Guilty, Your Honor. Carmelo doesn't look up. He's sitting near the back, head low, fists clenched. His lawyers exchange glances. You can't tell if they expected this or not. The judge, stone-faced, nods and proceeds with the formalities. But the mood has already shifted. This isn't just another hearing. This is the moment everything changes. Outside, phones buzz. Within minutes, the confession is everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, even major news outlets breaking the story before courts even adjourned. Protesters outside the courthouse start shouting louder, their signs raised higher. Some chant for justice, others for mercy. And in the swirl of it all, reporters scramble to update headlines. Confessed, Anthony family implodes in court. What's most chilling, though, is how quiet the courtroom becomes once the confession sinks in. No more whispers, just silence, like everyone is collectively processing the shock. One juror, sitting stiffly in his chair, can't stop blinking. Another presses her fingers to her temple, as if trying to stop a migraine from building. And then you notice something strange. Carmelo's eyes are still fixed on the floor, but there are tears now, sliding down his face, slowly and silently. And now people are wondering, would you have stood by your parents or walked out of that courtroom the moment they confessed? You hear the bailiff's voice echo down the hallway, announcing a recess, but no one moves. The crowd is still locked in from that confession. And just when it seems like the room might calm down, a prosecutor stands up holding a stack of documents, the official court transcripts of Carmelo's parents' statements. She doesn't read them aloud, she just places them on the evidence table with a heavy thud, like she's dropping a weight no one in that room wants to carry. Suddenly, the camera crews waiting outside push forward. Word is already leaking that there's more to the confession, more than just a simple guilty. People start murmuring, what else did they admit to? Was someone else involved? Was this premeditated? A man seated 2 rows behind you whispers, "This is bigger than they're saying." Way bigger, and in a case like this, whispers spread like wildfire. A reporter pulls out their phone and shows a colleague a new headline. Confession details leaked. Anthony parents reveal shocking backstory in courtroom statement. You glance over, curious and a little horrified. Because here's the thing, the confession wasn't just about who did it, it was why. According to insiders, the mother broke down while confessing, talking about protecting her son, hinting that the murder was never supposed to happen. It spiraled out of control. At one point, she allegedly said, "We just wanted to scare him. That's all it was supposed to be." You look around and wonder, do you believe that? If someone claimed they never meant to kill, just to send a message, does it change how you judge them? And more importantly, if you were in Carmelo's shoes, would you ever speak to your parents again? You're seated in your living room when your phone buzzes again. Another update from the courtroom. This time, it's not about evidence or legal motions. It's about Carmelo himself. Reporters say he finally lifted his head. After hours of staying quiet and looking down, he spoke. But not to the judge, not to the lawyers, to the public. Cameras weren't allowed to film it, but sketch artists were quick to capture the moment. Carmelo standing, shaking slightly, then gripping the witness box. His voice was low, cracked. "I didn't know. I didn't want this." According to transcripts from the moment, he then said something that stunned even the prosecution. "If I could go back and stop them, I would, but I'm not them. I'm not my parents." You feel your breath hitch. This wasn't just testimony, it was a disowning, a full, public distancing from the very people who raised him. Outside the courthouse, the crowd erupts again. Some cheer, others call him a coward. And online, the debate ignites instantly. Should children pay for the sins of their parents? Is Carmelo complicit for staying silent before this moment? Meanwhile, inside, the judge slams his gavel for order. And Carmelo? He sits back down, head lowered again, but this time, something's changed in his posture, like a weight's been lifted. Or maybe like the real burden is just beginning. You can't help but ask yourself, would you have done what he did? Publicly turn against the people who raised you, even if it meant protecting your own name? And if you didn't, what would that silence cost you? You don't even hear the doorbell ring. You're too locked in, watching the live feed as the courtroom plays back the confession. Not from Carmelo, not from the prosecution, but from his mother. It's a sealed video, just unsealed minutes ago. The lights dim slightly in the courtroom, and the screen flickers to life. You can see her in a small, sterile interrogation room. No makeup, no blazer, just a gray sweatshirt and swollen eyes. At first, she's silent. Then, a detective speaks off camera. "Mrs. Anthony, we need to know the truth. Did you buy the knife?" Her voice almost inaudible. "Yes." You watch as her lips quiver. She adds, "But I didn't know they would use it like that." Gasps ripple across the room. One juror physically recoils. The Metcalf family lawyer whispers something into his client's ear, and you can see Austin's mother start to cry again, quietly this time. And now you're wondering, what did she think it was for? Why was she buying anything like that in the first place? She doesn't stop there. The confession keeps going. She explains where she got it, who asked her to get it, how it was paid for, even the receipt. And suddenly, the entire strategy the defense tried to build collapses. The courtroom falls into a tense silence, but your mind races. If the mother confessed, will the father fold next? And if both parents are responsible, what does that mean for everything Carmelo said in his own defense? Would you believe she didn't know how it would end? Or does buying the weapon make her guilty, no matter what she thought? You're barely keeping up with the updates when the evidence technician takes the stand next. A younger man, mid-30s, sharp haircut, sleeves rolled to the elbow like he's been working for hours. And he has. He walks up with a black case, unzips it carefully, and pulls out a clear plastic bag containing the knife. A few gasps. One juror leans back, but the real moment comes when he says, "We recovered multiple fingerprints on the handle, and they were not smudged." The room freezes. He continues, "We ran the prints against state and federal databases. 2 of them belonged to Mrs. Anthony, 1 to Mr. Anthony. The others were consistent with household contact, but none matched the victim." The defense tries to object, something about chain of custody, but it's too late. The exhibit is entered into the record. The jury's already seen it. The technician continues calmly. The prints were consistent with the suspect having held the weapon in a firm grip, not just touched it, gripped it. One woman in the audience starts sobbing. The judge asks for order, but even he looks shaken. The technician hands the bag back to the court officer, and as it passes, you realize something else. There's red staining on the blade. It's been tested, confirmed. The blood matches Austin Metcalf. Now viewers online are asking, why did both parents handle the knife? Why were their prints preserved, unless they had control over it during or after the act? And deeper than that, if the prosecution is this confident in the evidence already, what else are they holding back for final statements? Would you stay in the courtroom if you were Carmelo? Or would you walk out before your parents' last shreds of innocence are gone forever? You don't need to be in the courtroom to feel the tension. It leaks through every update, every whisper, every tweet. But when Karmelo Anthony returns after a brief recess, you can tell something's changed. He doesn't look like a man supporting his family. He looks like a man preparing for the end of one. He avoids eye contact with the judge, the jury, even with his own parents. He sits stiffly behind the defense bench, arms folded so tightly his knuckles go pale. And then the next witness is called, a forensic audio analyst. She walks up, plugs a USB into the courtroom system, and says 5 words that make the room stop breathing. You're about to hear everything. The lights dim slightly as the recorded call begins. It's a scratchy phone call between Carmelo's mother and an unknown third party. But the words are unmistakable. It had to be done. We couldn't let him talk. There's a pause. Then, is the weapon gone? It's hidden. No one will find it. The room erupts. Reporters scramble. The judge slams the gavel 3 times, his voice cracking as he yells for silence. The jury looks stunned. One juror even mouths, "Oh my God." Carmelo's head drops. He doesn't move. He doesn't blink. His parents don't look at him. They don't say a word. And now people online are asking, what would you do if your mother's voice admitted everything? Right there in front of the world. Would you stand up and defend her? Or would you start planning your exit from the last place you ever thought would betray you? The courtroom, your home, your family. You watch as the final witness steps down and the judge prepares to adjourn. But before the gavel can fall, Carmelo Anthony rises to his feet. For a moment, the entire courtroom stills, like time itself knows something is about to break. His lawyer places a hand on his shoulder, gently trying to sit him back down, but Carmelo doesn't move. Instead, he turns to the gallery, eyes scanning the room full of reporters, family members, and strangers who have turned this trial into daily theater. And then he speaks. You think this is just a trial. You think this is about guilt or innocence. But this is about control, power, the kind you don't even see. His voice doesn't tremble. His words don't waver. My parents aren't saints, but they're not monsters either. And if I'm the only one willing to say that out loud, so be it. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Some shake their heads in disbelief. Others nod, unsure whether it's courage or delusion speaking. The judge bangs the gavel, declaring the day's session closed. But Carmelo doesn't sit down. He turns to his mother, who can't meet his eyes, then to his father, who looks like he's aged 10 years in a week, and then he walks out. Not with defiance, not with shame, but with the kind of emptiness that only comes when you've realized you may never truly know the people who raised you. And now the question everyone's asking: if the people who brought you into this world were capable of hiding something this dark, could you ever forgive them? Or would you walk out too, not just from the courtroom, but from the past itself?